Sonic Adventure 2 is a game that is not as good as Sonic Adventure 1. I know, it's a hot take, potentially, but just leave me alone. In this video, I'll be taking a look at the good, the bad, and the chow of Sonic Adventure 2. This is a beloved game by many, although it went through a few years of being disliked due to bigger channels labelling it as a bad game, but that's far from the truth. Whilst I prefer the first adventure game, I must stress that if Sonic Adventure is considered great, Sonic Adventure 2 is considered good to me. I actually made a video on this game years ago, but I've long since made it private as it was just awful, with the majority of the video length discussing the story and in a very short and vague section saying why I thought the gameplay was bad. It takes a lot for me to make a video private. It's not like I'm ashamed of my older videos, although the Ratchet & Clank one is, it's something.
But not as stiff as Clank's metal cock!
My old SA2 video doesn't represent my opinion on the game at all, and truthfully, I don't think it represented it at the time either. But I've spent enough time rambling. Let's start with one of the most amazing opening levels ever. City Escape is it is the best opening level in all of Sonic history. This level is literally everything that defines Sonic. Attitude, speed, ramps, loops. Well, it's a single loop, but it counts. Rail grinding, and set pieces. Opening with Sonic breaking free from a helicopter and using the door as a snowboard down a busy street, and ending with a deadly truck attempting to you. This was the first game to include rail grinding, and the inclusion is so natural. It feels like this was a thing Sonic should have been doing since the very beginning. In fact, after this game, Sonic did it in literally every single game. I can't think of a single Sonic game that doesn't have it other than Mania, and the two that I pretend don't exist. Sonic controls mostly the same as he did in the first adventure game, but the spin dash has been nerfed really hard. All this crazy shit you were doing in SA1, we don't do that here. They didn't just leave you with a worse version of Sonic. Sonic now has a bounce, which it's a bounce, it bounces. A flame roll, and also you don't have to charge up a ring dash anymore. You see those rings over there, you just run up to it, you press the button, and you just fly along. No more charging it up for like 3 seconds, you just go. It's amazing. The amount of speed you can build up in these levels feels really satisfying. Chaining together homing attacks, light speed dashes, and perfectly balanced rail grinds leads to some really fast and fluid gameplay with light platforming to break it up. Adventure 2 has 6 playable characters just like the first game did, but it only has 3 types of gameplay instead of 6. Some may say this is kind of lame. You're not getting as much variation as before. The game gets more repetitive. Others may say this is great, as it allows the 3 types of gameplay to be much more refined than previously. The 6 characters are split between hero and dark storylines, with levels alternating between speed, treasure hunting, and mech shooting. The gameplay is technically more refined than before, but it's way more repetitive. This isn't so much because of the gameplay, but more due to level design. This game is very, very linear. Unlike the first adventure, there aren't too many instances of alternate pathways in levels. Did Adventure 1 have sprawling different ways to each objective in every level? No, Gamma and Amy were very linear. Did that game tunnel you through levels as badly as this game though? No, because this game is corridors dressed up as levels. Okay, that's a slight exaggeration. Pyramid Cave takes the cake. It's literally a corridor. No, I don't count the section where you have to go to the side and come back as anything other than a corridor. It's just a corridor, but you go like down a hallway and then you find out you went the wrong way and you come back and you go down the corridor again. There's no way of skipping this other than glitching. You have to do it. There's no hidden alternate route where you fly over it. It plays the same every single time. Radical Highway also has almost nothing in terms of alternate pathways. There's a few small shortcuts, as in jump on the boxes and hit the enemy instead of hit this enemy and go up the zip line. Outside of the bridge section though, it's all a straight line. The loops are pretty sweet though. But just because a level is linear doesn't mean it's bad. I really need to stress this. Radical Highway is an awesome level. There's no denying that it's linear though. It does feel somewhat disappointing when compared to the first game, which felt a lot like a 2D Sonic game put in 3D. There are parts of that game that tunnel you through, sure. The illusion of alternate pathways and secrets is much greater in SA1 though. That's not to say that these levels are devoid of interesting stuff though. Like the part with the rocket in Metal Harbor, there's a timer counting down till the rocket takes off, so you have to jump onto a handle as quickly as possible. One handle is about halfway up, but there's another handle all the way at the top if you can make it, which I can never make it. And some of the levels are very open like the original game, namely the space levels, which give you a lot of freedom to get across the stage. Want to walk up here on the wall things? Do it. Don't want to ride the rails through the tunnel? Just drop down. But then we come to the Tails and Eggman levels, and oh boy, these are not very good. They all play practically identical to one another. These levels just feel so mindless, there is almost nothing to these. Controls wise, these characters are a little bit too slippery sometimes, but overall they play well. The problem is the level design is so boring. There are a few small areas sometimes with an extra life or whatever, but the core level is just walking in a straight line. And when the core gameplay surrounding walking in a straight line is not all that engaging, it falls apart. No, hovering over gaps doesn't make it interesting either. Holding down the B button and then letting go to destroy enemies gets old really fast. Really fast. And the amount of levels like this is just, oh my god. Especially in the Dark Story, there's just so many Eggman levels. It feels almost never ending. The beeping sound during these levels as well, it's beautiful. My ears love it. Lastly, there's the treasure hunting, which is good. It's not as good as the treasure hunting in Adventure 1 in some respects, but it's also better in others. An odd decision made here was to limit the Emerald radar to only display one piece at a time, which seems completely pointless. In the first game it tracked all of them. The weirdest thing is, the one piece scanner would have worked much better in the first game than it does in this game. The issue the treasure hunting had in the first game was it was so trivial. Each level can be beaten in about a minute because you just had a small open area with very few obstacles to explore. With these levels, having the radar only track one piece would have made sense, as it's not like you would have to go very far anyway. The levels in this game are still very simple, but they throw in a few new mechanics that trick you into thinking they're bigger than they actually are. Take for example the first level as Rouge. This one is tiny, but it feels big because you start in a small room and have to free a turtle to access the rest. This is some crazy levolution shit right here. But say you get one piece at the start of the island, the second piece after the turtle ride, and then the third after riding the turtle back to the beginning again. Imagine how much easier that would have been with the radar pinging everything. It's so frustrating, it just wastes your time. Death Chamber isn't that big of a level really, but the stone tablet things make the traversal take a lot longer. Mad Space is the worst thing I've ever played, it's so awful and confusing. Again, the tracker only detecting one piece just slows everything down for no reason. Mad Space in particular suffers because you're just going back and forth and it takes so long to go back and forth across the level. The radar doesn't even ping stuff that you're like right next to. There are some really great levels here, Pumpkin Hill and Security Hall, but it's clear that all of these levels would have benefited greatly from having the radar track all of the pieces at once, rather than one at a time. By the way, every Knuckles stage has a rap, and it's really cool. It's like hearing Knuckles' inner thoughts on what's been happening in the story as you play.
Yeah, Rouge, she's sexy and smooth. FBI, open up!
That's a perfect segue. The story. I don't really wish to turn this into an analysis, so I'll give a summary. We've discussed City Escape, but just why was Sonic snowballing off a piece of a helicopter anyway? Why was Sonic even in a helicopter? Why did he murder all of those people on board? I'm not really sure about the murder part, but he was being taken to Prison Island due to him being mistaken for a new hedgehog, Shadow, the ultimate life form working with Dr. Eggman to rule the world. Actually, Shadow wants to destroy it entirely. I'm not sure if Eggman really knows about that part though, it kind of seems like maybe he's playing along. Shadow is one of the most iconic Sonic characters, a darker, more mysterious hedgehog, countering Sonic's good nature and attitude. It's really easy to see why people latched onto this character so much. He's so cool. They really struck gold with this character. He's the first character since Knuckles that's a household name. When you think of Sonic, you probably think of, well, if Sonic, you think of Sonic first, right? And then Tails, and then either Knuckles or Shadow. At this point, Shadow's probably more popular than Tails in truth. Part of what makes him so mysterious and cool is actually the lack of him throughout the game. He only has 4 levels, and for the most part he kind of plays a supporting role in the story. He's not a big focus, even though the cover has him on it, but whatever. This is something Sonic Team clearly did not understand going forward from this game though, as Shadow became increasingly prominent. Anyway, Shadow wants to destroy the world as payback for his friend Maria being killed when the gun forces, yep, there's a private army in a Sonic game, invaded the space colony Ark, a space station where Shadow was created. Eggman uses this to piss on the moon. Sonic and friends go to the Ark and find out there was a lizard hidden underneath. Shadow dies, the end. Oh, also Rouge's a new character and a gun spy. The sexualization of this character is also really weird. Truthfully, it makes me uncomfortable.
What the fuck?
The presentation of this game and this story is much better than previously. There's no more weird animation, the voice acting is much better. There is an issue with the voice acting being drowned out by the music during cutscenes, but they clearly knew this as the game forces you to have subtitles on. Joke's on them, I can't read. It also helps that the story here is a lot more interesting in my opinion when compared to the first game. And that's about it for Sonic Adventure 2. Oh wait, the Chow Garden. I ignored the Chow stuff in the first game as it's really basic. The Chow Garden in this game though is insane. The amount of depth here is crazy. You can raise Chow to be either good or evil. You can make them race or fight to the death. The black market allows you to buy special Chow eggs, and there's a daycare where they can learn stuff like instruments and drawing. Me and my brother, more so my brother, spent a lot of time on this back when we were younger. My brother had this crazy Chow he put loads of time into with maxed out stats. I haven't really touched the Chow Garden in quite the same way in recent years whenever I've come back to this game, but there's no denying there is a lot of fun to be had in what initially seems like an afterthought. So yeah, that's Sonic Adventure 2, a game I still really enjoy, but I must admit I think I prefer the first game overall. That's not to say this is a bad game, it definitely has some great stuff in it, and I can see why people consider this the best Sonic game. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.